So, welcome to today's show. We're going to talk about some of the changes that are going to affect cruising as we move forward. Because of the COVID virus, they're really starting to be some clearer pictures of what's going to happen in the cruise industry and how that's going to affect passengers. To get us started today, we're going to take a look at what's going to happen as far as screening on board. So as you can see on this slide, I know it's kind of small, but the first area that they're talking about here is testing, screening, and exposure reduction. Then they look at sanitation and ventilation response, contingency planning, destination excursion planning, and mitigating risk for crew. We're going to kind of go through all of those as we have the opportunity. But we're going to start today with screening. Because when we get to the cruise port, we can expect people to be very interested in what our state of health is before we get on board the ship. And so we start with, this is information from the Royal Caribbean and the NCL board. It's very similar to what was issued by CLIA, and it's kind of what we expect to see happen as far as in the industry in general. And so the first thing is, before you even go to the port, what you've got to do is you've got to have a completed COVID test somewhere between 5 days and 24 hours before you get to the port. And when you get there, you've got to be able to present that proof as the first piece of the screening. No test, you're done. You don't get to go. So that's where it starts. But there's a lot more that's involved. They're going to, as you start to go through the check-in process, at that point in time, they're going to start looking for symptoms. And so somebody that's coughing or shows any obvious symptoms, they're going to get sent to secondary screening. Anybody who has had contact with somebody that they suspect might have COVID gets to go to secondary screening. It says that are confirmed to have a COVID virus, we'll find out that that's actually grounds to be denied boarding. So if somebody in your party that you're traveling with has COVID, what's going to happen is that when you get there, you're not going to get a chance to even get on the ship. They will deny the person with the virus and all the people traveling with them. You know, this is something that happened even before the pandemic. They were testing passengers and crew with non-contact temperature screening. This is going to be pretty much mandatory every time you get on or off the ship now, is to have your temperature taken. So here are some key pieces of this. It says anyone who discloses contact to a person with COVID-19, anyone with a temperature over 100.4, anyone with potential COVID-19 symptoms, all of these individuals are going to get additional screening. So if you show up with any of those in your history, then you're going to go to secondary screening. Quite probably they'll have rapid tests available. They're starting to show up on the ships, and they're showing up in Europe. So basically they can do a PCR test. They'll know fairly quickly whether or not you have COVID or you pose a risk. If you've been in contact with somebody that, in close contact with somebody that has COVID again, that would be grounds to not let you on board the ship. So I'm hoping that you think these will be helpful. I'm actually looking for if there's any questions on it. What might be causing you some concern? Pam mentioned earlier that she's okay with the masks on board. We'll talk about that in another video. She's not too happy about the thought of flying, and I agree with that. Being right next to a lot of people would be a little bit uncomfortable for me right now. And since we don't have any questions, We're going to make this a short video tonight. I hope you enjoy it. We'll see you next time.